Your neckline is too low, you're too skinny or too fat, you're wearing too much makeup or not enough, you look plain and unkempt. In other words, you're just too something, too much, too little, too this, too that. Chances are at least one of these judgments sounds familiar to you. Hi everyone, my name is Elina. Today we're going to talk about a culture that teaches women not to love themselves, and even worse, to judge each other. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so you don't miss the next videos I'm already working on. Also make sure to follow me on Instagram, the link is in the description below. Slut-shaming, body shaming, the good girl ideal, these aren't just words. They're a daily trap that almost every woman falls into at some point. But here is a big question. Why do we as women keep reinforcing these traps ourselves? And how do we break free? You've probably heard the term misogyny before, but let's take a closer look. It's a form of prejudice, contempt, or even hatred towards women simply for being women. It can be loud through violence, verbal abuse, discrimination, or subtle in stereotypes, sexist jokes, distrust of women in leadership roles, or even in the fact that being yourself a woman is often more difficult than it should be. But the real question is, where did all this come from? It's a deeply rooted cultural illness, one that has been developing for thousands of years. For most of human history, the world was built by men for men. Women were stripped of the right of vote, access to education, ownership of property, sexual autonomy. A woman was either a daughter, a wife, or a mother, but not a full individual in the eyes of the system. Misogyny emerged as a control mechanism, a way to keep women in their place. Philosophy, religion, and science have often supported misogyny too. In the philosophical writings of Plato, Aristotle, and even Freud, women were often portrayed as imperfect men, weaker, more emotional, less rational. In many religions, women were blamed for original sin, seen as temptresses or declared impure. In early medicine, the female body was barely studied, symptoms were ignored, and women's pain was dismissed, a problem that still exists today. These ideas have become so deeply embedded in our culture that even women themselves have internalized them and unconsciously continue to support them. Misogyny is taught from early childhood, usually by parents or other close relatives. Not because they're bad, but because they themselves were raised this way. From a young age, girls often hear things like be modest, don't be too loud, sit still, don't interrupt, a girl should be gentle. What kind of tone is that? A real lady doesn't speak like this. Who is going to love you if you act like that? Or even who's going to marry you? As if getting married is the ultimate life goal for every girl. And the worst part is many grow up truly believing it, because that belief was planted in their minds from the very beginning. Then you grow up a little and a new scenario begins. Be beautiful, but don't attract too much attention. Be desirable, but modest. Wear something feminine, but not vulgar. Don't put on makeup like a clown, but don't look messy or unkempt either. Sometimes they don't even say anything, they just look with judgment, with shame, with a silent verdict, and you start learning to see yourself through the eyes of others. A few more years go by, now you're expected to be ambitious, smart, driven, but not assertive, not aggressive, not a man in a skirt. You should be intelligent and accomplished, but not so much that you overshadow a man or threaten his fragile ego. A career, sure. But what about children? What about family? Where is your feminine happiness? Then you become a mother, and the pressure comes again. Don't be too much of a momfluencer, but don't neglect your child either. A woman was made to have children. You're already getting too old for that. Who's going to want you later? You're 30, 40, 50, and you're still expected to be a good girl. Look good, stay on trend, stay in shape, don't be annoying, don't age, don't get angry, don't ask for too much. In short, be perfect, but not on your terms, on the terms of ever-changing expectations set by others. Misogyny from men is a terrible thing, but it goes deeper, so deep that it becomes internalized misogyny. That's when a woman unconsciously absorbs the same beliefs that devalue women and starts repeating them herself. It doesn't mean she's a bad person, it just means she grew up in a system that taught her to see everything feminine as lesser. So how does internalized misogyny show up? Criticizing other women. She looks cheap, pretty girls are always dumb, she's clearly just showing off, probably looking for a sugar daddy. She's such a momfluencer, it's like she has no other personality. Women just can't work together, too much drama. Doubting or devaluing yourself. I could never be a leader, everyone would hate me, I shouldn't dress too bold or they'll think I'm easy. You can have it all, it's either career or family. I should tone it down, people might talk. The pick-me girl is a woman who publicly distances herself from other women just to be liked by men. She wants to prove that she's not like the other girls. Shows off her traditional masculine interests, even if it's just an act. Mocks femininity as weak or cringe. Insists that she is the real one, the simple one, the special one. Common pick-me girl phrases: I don't have female friends, girls are too jealous, it's just easier with guys, we have more in common. I'm not like other girls, I don't do drama, makeup or girly stuff. Ew, she's so fake, slutty, loud. Oh, I'm not a feminist, I just believe in love and respect. It sounds like I'm a good woman because I'm not like those other women. Pick me, choose me, approve of me, let me be worthy. Summer is for travel and rest, but your body still needs care. No time for full workouts? On Wispens we've created special quick training packs. Just 10 minutes a day, no equipment needed, focused on tone, lightness and energy. Stay in shape even on vacation. Now with up to 50% off, don't miss it, link in bio. Why do women become pick-me girls? It's not about being a bad woman, it's about being a woman raised in a culture where male approval is currency. Female solidarity is suspicious. Femininity equal weakness or shame, and self-worth must come through a man's eyes. That's how internalized misogyny is born. And the woman begins to distance herself from other women, believing it's the path of safety, attention or love. What's hiding beneath it? A fear of being just like the rest, because then you won't stand out. A hunger for validation. If men don't approve, you've failed. Deep distrust of female connection, because you've been judged, betrayed or shamed before. A survival strategy. If I'm good for them, they won't reject me. But here is the truth. This strategy always backfires, because it's built on the idea that either you or another woman has to be turned down in order for you to be enough. The problem with the pick-me mentality, it isolates women who could be each other's support system. It reinforces misogyny. All women are dramatic, I'm the only normal one. It holds you back from expressing your true self. You perform instead of being. It ties your worth to the male gaze. Without it, you feel invisible. The pick-me girl is not evil. She is a wounded girl who desperately wants to be loved. She just doesn't know that real love doesn't start with pleasing others. It starts when you stop betraying yourself. And from my personal experience and observing others, I can say this with certainty. Men fall in love with women who stay true to themselves, not those who twist and shrink to fit into someone else's expectations. A man doesn't need a woman who pretends she is into fishing, cars or rock concerts just to get his attention. Only if you genuinely share those interests, that's amazing. But if you're playing a part just to impress him, it will never work out in the long run. On the contrary, your unique traits, whether it's knitting, a dance, yoga or something completely non-mainstream, are far more attractive to a mature and emotionally intelligent man than being one of the guys. Authenticity is always more magnetic than performance, and if someone only loves you when you are pretending, that's not love, that's conditional approval. Internalized misogyny also creates another archetype, the gatekeeper woman, the critic, the enforcer, the internal police of patriarchy. She is not just a strict mother, judgmental friend or toxic mother-in-law, she is a woman who took it upon herself to guard the patriarchal rules, and now she decides what's acceptable and what's shameful, which woman is respectable and which one is embarrassing, what's feminine and what's too much. When you're ready to be a mother, wife, employer or anything at all, she is a walking, talking censor, not just carrying internalized misogyny within herself, but passing it around like an invisible manual. You can't act like that. That's not for decent women. Don't be too loud. Who do you think you are? And the most tragic part, often this woman truly believes she's helping. She thinks she's teaching a life lesson, giving advice, showing the right way, but in reality, she is just repeating a trauma she never got to heal from. The gatekeeper woman is not a monster. She is a girl who was never allowed to be herself and now doesn't allow others to be either. She shames other women for being too much, too sensual, too ambitious, too bold, too expressive. She appointed herself as a moral authority, a guardian of what's proper, because that's what feels safe to her. And yes, I've met women like that in real life, most often in positions of power within schools or universities as teachers or academic supervisors. I still remember one of them vividly. She taught Ukrainian language and literature in high school and was also the school principal. It was heartbreaking that someone like her taught one of my favorite subjects. Even though I always came prepared, knew the material and read every book, she constantly gave me low grades. I often stayed after class trying to prove myself, prove that I had read, that I understood, and the fact that I had to do that was absurd and humiliating. I remember another moment clearly. I was just sitting in class quietly looking at her, listening, and suddenly she snapped. "Why are you looking at me with those made-up eyes?" To this day, I don't know what the problem was. Was it the way I looked at her? Was it the eyeliner? Or was it just the fact that I dared to look? Because usually teachers scold you when you don't look at them, not when you do. You know, if I hadn't experienced this myself, I might not have believed that women in their 40s or 50s could feel envy or even hostility toward a 16-year-old girl. But I saw it, I lived it, and I truly believe many of those women are deeply wounded souls, raised in the Soviet system with strict rules and a culture of shame. In those times, no one went to therapy, no one talked about the body, about boundaries, about self-worth. They were taught not to dream, only to endure. Then came age, hormonal changes, life dissatisfaction, and all that pain starts spilling out onto whoever is younger, more alive, more free. Sometimes your mere presence is enough to trigger their buried trauma. People have become more conscious. We read more, reflect more, and seek help from psychologists and coaches. It's important for us to understand ourselves, and this is what opens a path for inner freedom. But unfortunately, misogyny still exists, and only we decide how quickly we overcome it. We as a generation capable of changing the rules of the game. It starts with small things, with inner work on ourselves, with rethinking our own beliefs. Because when we heal ourselves, the next generation won't carry this burden. Women are not rivals. We are mentors, role models for each other. Strong, beautiful, successful women are not a threat. They're a source of wisdom, experience, inspiration. When we don't envy but sincerely acknowledge another woman's beauty, intelligence, or talent, it doesn't make us less significant. On the contrary, it opens our hearts, make us nobler, more mature, ready for our own transformation. Write in the comments what you think, what you agree with, what you don't. Have you personally experienced misogyny or maybe noticed it in yourself? If this video resonated with you, please support it with a like. It really helps the channel grow. And see you in the next videos.